I'm Danny, and today I'm here with my September, October, and November wrap-up. So first off, I read Toil and Trouble by Jessica edited by Jessica Spotswood and Tessa Sharp. But there are a ton of other authors in this book. Normally it would be on the back, but my library sticker is on the back, so I can't even tell you who most of the authors are. 15 different authors for this, and there's an anthology about witches. It's Toil and Trouble, 15 Tales of Women in Witchcraft, and this is an awesome book. I actually received this, well, not this copy, but an e-arc of this book in return for an honest review from NetGalley, and I will link my review on Goodreads in the description below. And it was just amazing. There was all sorts of different types of witchcraft, from spiritual witchcraft to more mainstream witchcraft and Wicca and actual physical witch. Some witches from like the Salem witch trial era and how women were persecuted back then. Like, there was an incident in this book, I won't give you too many details, about a girl, a servant girl who was giving birth, and she was told to name her the baby's father because she was not married to this man, and she said master, and then of course everybody in the room except for the midwife assumes she meant the devil, and of course the midwife knows that she actually meant the master of the house, being the lady of the house husband, who was the woman who was asking her for the father's name. And then once, she did like CPR on the baby, I think it was, and then the baby came back, and because of that, they thought it was witchcraft, and they started the whole trial thing, and it was just, it shows you all the different ways that women of all sorts of different ages and race and beliefs have been persecuted for all sorts of these reasons, being witchcraft, and therefore they're evil. I would have to say probably my favorite story in here was, I think it was called The One Who Came? The One Who Stayed. That's what it was called. It's around page 200 or so. And it was just so fantastic. I gave a really detailed description review, non-spoiler, in my review, which, like I said, I will link in the description below. But I gave this a 5-star rating. It was absolutely beautiful and wonderful and heartbreaking, and there are LGBTQ characters in this book. There's all sorts of different types of witchcraft, as I said, some from a lot of women who are outside of society, who know what it means to be the other or an improper woman. So it's absolutely fantastic. If you are looking for a good witchcraft anthology, I definitely recommend this one. Next, I read Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa, I think it's called. And this was a fantastic book. It was, if you've read Akamath, A Court of Mist and Fury, then this book is so much like it. At first I was thinking, you know, this person read A Court of Mist and Fury, they were inspired by it, and a lot of it got put into this, a lot of similarities got put into this story. But no, they came out the exact same year, which is crazy. How can two authors have such similar ideas and yet also at the same time be so different? This was actually recommended to me by someone on Goodreads, who said who saw I read Akamath and really liked it. They said, if you're looking for another book of males with wings, then this is the one, and it was absolutely fantastic. It is about Calypso Lillis, who is a siren who is being sexually abused by her father, and she actually ends up killing him when he tries to do it again. And so she finds this card in their house for this dealer called the Bargainer. He will give you one wish, and all you have to do is pay that wish back at a later date, whatever his price is. And of course, she knows she's killed him. Her stepfather is a very famous man, so she knows she's probably going to jail no matter what. So she calls upon the Bargainer, and he gets rid of all the evidence, anything connecting her to it, and then he's pretty much tells her that it's no problem. You're at this time, she's technically still a minor, because in this world magical creatures aren't considered adults until the age of 16, and at that point she would be sent off to this magical sort of school where she would learn not only everyday things but how to control her powers and everything. So he sends her off to that school, and it continues on with the story from there, how they knew each other, and then it constantly flashes forward from present day to past 8 to 7 years ago when she was in school, and it is an absolutely fantastic book. I really enjoyed it, and if you did enjoy According to Mr. Fury, I think you will really like this one. I gave this one a 5-star rating. I also reread Queen Takes Night by Jolie Sue Burkhart, and this is actually my third time rereading this book this year. I think it's my second time though, and it was so good, and yeah, it's just very good. It's about a girl named Shara who is being chased by these monsters called thralls who are being controlled by this man who she calls the overseer. They've been chasing her since she was about 13 or 14 years old, and so she's constantly on the run from them. And then there's just one night she gets cornered by them, and she is truly ready to just end it rather than let them take her. And then these two men burst out of the forest, I think it is, and they're calling her Your Majesty, and she finds out that she is actually a lost vampire queen, and it continues on from there. Now, this is a definitely R-rated book, so be warned of that before you go into these. And then I believe I gave this one a 4-star rating again. Actually, don't have a copy of this one because this one I listened to on audiobook, and it is actually the follow-up to Queen Takes Night, and that is Queen Takes Queen, which continues on with Shara's story, her learning how to be queen and dealing with her blood and how to make her nest and everything. And I believe I gave that one a 3-star rating. I also reread Wanted by the Devil by Joanna Blake, and this is about I can't remember her name. This is about Callie and Devlin. Callie has known Devlin a good chunk of her life ever since he took up the local motorcycle gang as their leader, president. I can't remember what she called it. And he has also been watching her for since about the time she was 16, I think. And this is just about their whole story about how they date and get together. I believe I gave this one a 3-star rating. Then I read Venice Vampire by Tina Fulkin. This is about the Countess Isabella who saves this man from drowning one night, and then she and him kind of run into a snag when they are outed as being a scandal because they shared a bed together. Yes, this is another smutty book. And thinking her reputation is over, Raphael actually offers to marry her so that it can not only save their reputation, but because he also has feelings for her. Now, this is a very quick book, but there isn't, I don't know if I'd call it insta love, definitely instant attraction, though I don't think they actually admit that they have feelings for each other till the end of this. But it's still a novella, so it is still pretty short, so I guess depending on how much insta love bothers you depends on whether or not you'd be bothered by this book. Though I don't think, like I said, I don't think they admitted their feelings to the end, so it wasn't like 3 pages in they admitted that they loved each other. But this was pretty good. I expected it to be a little better, but it was still pretty good, and the sex scenes weren't too bad. And it was interesting to see the past in Venice, because I've seen, you know, past London, past Paris, a lot of past. I've never actually had one in Venice, so it was pretty interesting, and I do want to continue on with this series, but I gave this one a 3-star rating. Next is Writing with the Devil. This one I really did not enjoy. This is the sequel to Wanted by the Devil. This is Writing with the Devil. It is about another guy in the gang called the Viking, and he gets involved with Callie's friend from the first book, and it started out really good, but then there was just a certain point where it was just like, no. And so I actually ended up giving this one a 2-star rating. Next, I have my most anticipated book of the year, and that is A Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. This is the last book of the Throne of Glass series, and I wasn't ready for it. I'm still not ready to let go. And I have no doubt I will be reading these books soon in the future, but it was just, this is my most anticipated book every year. It's the book I look forward to coming out every year, and now it's just gone. I was for sure that the ACOTAR series would go on longer, so that when this series finally did end, I would have that to fall back on. But that ended after 3, technically 4 books, and the first half of the series at least. We know there's more books in that world coming, but from different characters. But this was so good. It was not as great as some of the other ones, because I think Queen of Shadows and Empire of Storms are still 2 of my favorite of the series, but this was still so good. It had so many moments, and there were quite a few moments where I was like, okay, this is the end. No, wait, we've still got way too many pages left. And but it was so good, and I love seeing more of the other worlds, and we get a sneak peek of 2 characters from the ACOTAR world where it happened. I was like, holy shit, is that them? And it was so good. But I cannot put this into words how good it was without spoiling people. But I cried through certain parts throughout it. There were certain points throughout this book that I would cry because of sad things and then happy things, and there was just one point in this book where tears were just rolling, and I have no idea why I was crying. There's a group of deaths in this that just hit me hard. I was for sure one of those people from that group would die, but not the entire group. And then there's a certain parent who dies too. If you've read the book, you know who I'm talking about. And Sarah just tries to kill us with every book, and it was just, the ending has to be my favorite part, because it was so beautiful seeing all these people who would come from all sorts of different walks of life and all over the world, seeing how they connect, all those threads that were woven throughout all the other books connecting together, and just seeing all of them having to separate because they've been together for years. So seeing all these people who have been together for certain parts, they're together one moment and then they have to leave each other, but then they come back together, seeing them all truly having to separate to go to their own kingdoms and homes. It was sad and sweet. It was just, well, I guess bittersweet, really, it would be the word. But I really love that last scene. That one was just touching. Oh, that part where Aylin's like, will you let me lie in bed all day and cry if I like a miserable worm if I promise to get to building the kingdom tomorrow? That's pretty much this whole series, from Airfire all the way to this book. That's just been me every book. I'm like, I just want to cry, and then I'll get to the other stuff later. But it was so good. I did give this a 4-star rating. And my last November book, which I finished yesterday, is A Discovery of Witches by Dara Harkness. Yes. I really wanted to watch the TV show. I didn't realize it was coming out so soon, and so I really wanted to read this so that I could watch that TV show, only to find out that I can't watch it. It's only playing in the UK area right now, and it won't be here where I am until January 14th, I think. And so I have to wait for that, so which means I could have held off on this a little longer, but I'm so glad I did read it because it was fantastic. It was much better than I thought it would be. It was much better than I thought it would be. It was not this. I think I've seen this in the YA section before, which I'm not sure why, because it is definitely an adult book. There is a little smut-ish scenes, but there is actually no sex scenes throughout this book at all. They do not have sex, which is something very different. Usually once the characters get together, there's sex. But there is no sex in this book. A little foreplay, no sex. So yeah. So this is about a witch named Diana, who is a doctor of history, and she prefers like alchemy of the 15th and 16th century, I believe. And she meets a Professor Matthew, oh, what's his last name again? Claremont. She meets Professor Matthew Claremont, and she starts to notice all these supernatural creatures, witches, demons, vampires, all these different supernaturals are watching her, and she can't figure out why until she finds out that she actually broke a spell on this magical somewhat historical book about pretty much where all these supernatural creatures come from, because they do not know their origin. Each one of these factions has a different idea about what's in this book. The witches believe that it is their entire history and that no other supernatural creature should read it, while the vampires believe that it tells where they came from and might even tell how to like get rid of all vampires, and they believe that the witches are holding the secret so that they can kill them. And then the demons just want to know again the history of where they come from. So all these factions are after her, watching her, waiting for her to call this book again, because she supposedly broke the spell. She doesn't know how. And this book supposedly has been missing for 100 years. So she called it, then she returned it to the stacks, which is like the back portion of the library where they keep all the very rare books. And so they've been waiting for her to call it again, which she has no intention to. She only needed it for like her research, and now she doesn't need it anymore, so she has no reason to call it. And so it's about her dealing with this, and also the mystery of what happened to her parents. She believes she knows what happened, but it is clued in by another witch that what she was told is not the actual truth. That her parents weren't just killed in Africa, that they weren't just killed in Africa, that they may have been murdered by other witches. And that's pretty much, it's about, also Diana does not use her powers. Ever since her parents died, she has just refused to use them, especially in her work. The few times it has happened in the past, it has not turned out the best, especially during her acting career, but it is very good. I believe I gave this a 4-star rating, I think. I might have given it a 5, I'm not sure. Yes, so I give this a 4-star rating, and it is so good, and I am definitely continuing on with this series. Well, that is my book haul for September, October, and November, and I will see you guys next time.